We were initially targeting to, hit Middle East and Dubai and Saudi. Very proud to say that I've also failed once. First phase is done, and I have actually broken the barrier of failure. So I've done that, been there, done that. I don't mind failing again.
You got to work on the proactive way of living so you are not reactive.
The professional life, it's been like 21 years of journey. 10% is the impact of the change. 90% in impact is how you respond or react to the change. I think that is the best time to start it and take this leap of faith.
Failure is opposite of success.
And I think it's complementary.
That's the healthy relationship with failure.
And we could actually onboard approximately 7 to 8,000 sellers across Pakistan.
If you must shake something which is working fine, you need risk capital.
So all of these companies doesn't consider technology as a cost center anymore. They look at it as an investment, right? So it's an investment on their people to bring efficiencies. So when it is an investment, we have to go back to the investor.
How do you basically promote innovation within the company?
There are two things. There's one thing is goal, and the other thing is vision. So vision is like your passion, and your goal are like your deliverables.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Shah Abdullah. I know you prefer to go by Abdullah.
Yes.
So currently you are
With National Foods.
with National Foods, and you are a director of digital transformation.
That's right.
And you have plethora of experience working in local market, international market. You started in the IT. We're going to dig deeper into what you have been up to, and I would love for you to even bring us back, where it all started, because oftentimes we are the compound effect of our experiences ever since we walk into this world, and when we start our journey as humans here in this transitionary space. So thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you bring us through your beginning of life and then how you got to where you are?
So thank you, Min. Thank you for having me, first of all. Definitely, it's a pleasure always talking to you and discussing bright ideas. And I always learn from your experience as well. So myself, I have been in the professional life. It's been like 21 years of journey. So almost 2 decades, or rather more than 2 decades now. Started as a core technical person working for data centers, networks, radio frequencies, VSATs. Moving on to my next assignment, which was with one of the Fortune 500 companies, Shell, in Pakistan. Then I delivered a small assignment, a secondment in Middle East. So yes, I have a little exposure of working outside Pakistan. And apart from that, I was associated with L'Oreal in the past, in these 21 years. So 5 years with L'Oreal, and then local multinational companies like Shan Foods, Smile Industries, and currently I'm working with National Foods. And then JV, Indus Motors. I was the CIO for Toyota Indus Motors as well within this time period. So yes, it's been a journey where I started as an IT and technology person, but that technology helped and becoming into a digital transformation and business transformation. So one of those people, you can say, I mean, out of those lot, I've seen this transition from IT to digital transformation. Actually, initially we used to look at IT as a cost saving. We used to automate things, but now the businesses, I've seen this change actually, and I'll vouch for it that now the businesses actually invest in IT, not to cut down the amount of people and not to cut down the human resources, but to automate and bring efficiencies and grow and expand and bring more and do more business and do this for customer satisfaction. And that the perspective overall has changed. So yes, I've been lucky that I have seen and witnessed this transition, and still part of it and still learning, because in Pakistan we are an emerging market and we definitely look forward to a lot of opportunities to learn. So thank you. I personally, that's why I again thank you that people like you are over here bringing these synergies, and we are also learning from you guys.
No, that's very wonderful. And along the way, you had your own startup as well.
Well, yes.
And
apart from this professional thing, since 2019, I started a little bit of consulting. Thanks to Dr. Ashar Hassan, doctors, and Khakan, who was then their CEO. I started working in collaboration with them and learned what the digital area and how digital helps for the health tech. So they are basically a company. They are doing insurance for Unilever, companies like Unilever and other companies, and it's a completely touchless digital solution for their employees, maybe the insurance policy holders. So they don't have to go anywhere. Everything, the doctors, the prescriptions, everything, all the digital health record is available over there. And we are from FNH Tech Soul, and I have my team. Farouk is part of my team as well. So we are helping them as a digital partner. And yes, I am very proud to say that I've also failed once. So I actually had a dream, and still it's there in the to-do list, and definitely I'll go back and touch base. But the first phase is done, and I have actually broken the barrier of failure. So I've done that, been there, done that, and now I'm confident that I don't mind failing again, but definitely I'll do it, and I'll take it to the next level. But it was a kind of e-commerce thing. It was precisely in 2019 and 2020 when everyone was struggling, and e-commerce was actually going big. So, but my idea and our thing was a little different. Basically, my point was to take Pakistan international, in which DigiCal, Wafa, thanks to her, they helped us as a agency and digital media partner for us. So we did a lot of campaigns, and we could actually onboard approximately 7 to 8,000 sellers across Pakistan. And the idea was to, as I said, to take Pakistan international, means there are people still currently selling on Amazon, but through different vendors, and they are not getting the right margins, while the margins are huge. So the idea was to give them a platform to directly sell. So we had HBL as our partner to get the monies back through online payments. Again, there were certain challenges which we'll definitely touch base going forward. But the idea initially was to allow them to sell their products, and we were, with TCS, with local other partners, MNP, we were also facilitating them in picking up the product from the source and sending it across to. And we were initially targeting to hit Middle East and Dubai and Saudi, where shipping time and shipping overall was better and quicker, easily doable, versus if we start sending it to a US, which was obviously a far the biggest market, apparently the North American market. But apparently we started with Middle East, which is another emerging market and has a lot of buying power, and a lot of people coming from multicultural environments. So yes, there was a little bit of study, which I think was not sufficient. I'm sure it was not sufficient, and then I learned going forward. So this was apparently the idea, and but we had to roll back because of a few learnings, which obviously, as we have discussed in the past, and we'll touch base on. There were certain limitations at that time. The shipments were going, the shipping cost was high due to COVID again. And then when we thought of setting up warehousing outside, so it was a massive cost with a big risk. So none of the investors would ever want to invest on unwanted inventories and then with no commitment to sell. So I did not want to be the one who to give them a false commitment. And there were other certain reality checks that we got, and definitely it's something that is parked for now, but surely will take up, and we'll take it to the next level, hopefully.
That's so wonderful. And, especially having achieved what you have achieved, the level of humility, right? And being able to put your hand up that, okay, it's not all glam, right? So along the way, you have to have your fair share of failures. And often what happens these days is people think failure is opposite of success.
Well, I think it's complementary.
It is, isn't it? It's actually a part of success, right? And for a very long time, even as you grow, when you're in school days, you're always looking to pass, you're always looking to succeed, and if there is a failure, it's just not something which is embraced, right?
Absolutely.
But in reality, even when you're learning how to walk, as a child, for example, you just fall a few times, you don't turn around, or people around you don't turn around and say that walking isn't for you. Let's try swimming. It doesn't work like that, right? Okay, you can get to the level of swimming, but you don't ditch what needs to be ditched. And that's the healthy relationship with failure. And entrepreneurship, I often, and these days I'm keep repeating this again and again, the simplified version of, or the simplified definition of entrepreneurship to me is healthy relationship with failure,
Absolutely.
right?
Because, at times, and they have been multiple, if you look at sportsmen, you look at any businessman, apparently I've seen and I've read, I can be wrong, but this is my view, that failure is apparently the push behind these big entrepreneurs, because once you fail, your commitment gets more stronger.
Hmm.
So, okay, this if but depends how you react or respond to it. If you start reacting it, definitely one would might just decide and get disheartened and close it. But if we respond to it, then we take it as a learning, and touching upon those points of learning, we take it. Then apparently there's still a chance that you may not succeed 100%. So there's no success. Apparently there's no definition to success, because be it a startup, be it something, so evolution, keep going on and coming in. So you have to, there are big companies, they decide to, cut down a few of their products, and they come up with innovations. So this is how failures for startups actually help and feed in. I mean, what you learn out of your failures, you should not get disappointed or disheartened. Rather, pick up those point of learnings, and if
Build up on
focus,
it.
yeah, and build up on your strengths. And perhaps there's a fair opportunity. As I said, I mean, at that time when I started, I mean, we were going all out. We had the market, the things coming out of Sialkot, wonderful things, starting from crockery, cutlery, then surgical equipments, then, barber equipments, and then the sports is all we know about, so, Faisalabad, Sialkot. Then there was big, list of product coming from Faisalabad. You won't believe that even in KPK, there are a lot of things that we can sell. And so that apparently was one of the learnings. And I started from Hala, interior sin. They are
Hmm.
amazing products. I visited them, and I personally met a delegation, came from Germany. They ordered them 2 containers of like in peanuts, right? And that's what I realized, that there's a big margin. There's a huge margin. But again, this was my mistake. I was going all out. Maybe
Hmm.
I could actually touch base on pick up a few products. Etsy, for example, is one of the household things in US. It's a big, e-commerce market. It's a big marketplace, but it's all for household things mainly. So
Etsy.
Etsy,
Etsy.
Etsy,
Hmm.
Etsy.com. So yes, so that was a learning, that no, we cannot pick up all the products, because in this case we don't have a target market, we don't have a segment, we are not targeting any specific segment audience of the market, or so so these were the learnings. So as I said, we will definitely kick back and come back again. But this was just one learning out of many others. As I initially touched base, that warehousing and the costing and the logistics. So
Hmm.
apparently, starting in e-commerce is not just setting up a platform,
Hmm.
setting up a PHP, .NET, or XYZ, or Shopify website. It's basically the backend operations. So
Hmm.
there were a few learnings, and if I wouldn't have, picked up on those learnings, I wouldn't have planned for the future.
Yes, 100%. And you touched on how you react to your failures matters the most. I was reading this stats. There was a research that was carried out by American Tennis Association, and they were comparing the top 25% of the sport, the champions, and the top 5%. The only difference that they actually came to learn, that the top 5%, every single time they used to have a point against them or anything that wasn't going in their favor, they used to say, I love this game. I may have not gotten this point, but I love it and I'm going to overcome it, right? And they are doing these positive, and this is a part of their subconscious actually, that I may be failing right now, but I love this sport. I love what I'm doing. And that what differentiates between the top 25 and the top 5, right? So how you respond to your failure, what you do makes a world of a difference.
Well, it goes for any change, it goes for any change. Wherever there is a change, there's a resistance, be it at a personal level or at an organizational level. And what I have learned in one of the seminars I was attending, it is like 10% is the impact of the change. 90% in impact is how you respond or react to the change.
Mhm.
So, be it someone getting a news that, okay, you are going to be laid off, right? Then he may just get depressed, start looking for new jobs. And that is, yes, that is one way to do it. But, then there's I've seen people who have actually, who got laid off, started their own business. I'm not saying that they started they have reached a unicorn status, but still they have their, be it a shop, be it a, perfume line, be it anything, but they are now at somewhere and some point in time. So maybe becomes an opportunity, and we have across the globe, we have examples like people becoming master chefs, you know so on and so forth. So there are multiple examples. So this is why I always and firmly believe that any change will bring some disturbance, because it pulls us out of the comfort zone,
Mhm.
right? But then it depends how, if either we respond to it or we react to it. If we react to it, perhaps we may find some short term solution for immediate thing, which is okay. But again, for to have a long term approach, we should respond to the things and the changes. And I think we have already discussed this, that opportunity lies in some whenever such chaos happens. So yes,
100%.
surely we have always have to keep our eyes and ears open to look at how this change can be positive for us.
I often think the prerequisite to that is you got to work on the proactive way of living so you are not reactive and then you respond as opposed to react. So if somehow we start to think proactively as opposed to just doing, so there is a very fine line. The other day I had a guest here, Sipten, he said something so interesting that sometimes we overthink about a particular scenario or situation which is not here yet, but we just overthink and we just think, like, oh my God, that's the end, that's going to be the end of everything, right? But at the same time, you can't really not plan for it, right? So there's a fine balance of letting it get to you and then having the preparation there, that if it was to happen, I'll just tackle it the way it's going to be tackled, the way when it's going to arrive there. So responding, I think it's very beautiful point that you touched on. You are working as a director of digital transformation, which in other words, big change, right?
Absolutely.
And this change management in a company like National Foods, for example, legacy, it's a big brand, national brand, it's a big ship. And now being captain in charge, bringing everybody along, running business, how do you manage all of that? How do you navigate through those waters?
Well, first of all, in my role, and I'm talking about myself and not in general. I don't feel I feel definitely very optimistic about bringing new ideas to on the table, but it's not necessary that what I am thinking is always good for the organization. So it's always a mandatory thing to have a buy-in from the business, from the teams for which you are bringing and trying to add value. Because a person sitting in supply chain, a procurement head, a sales, a marketing person, a digital head may have a different perspective, considering it depends market to market. So if I try to bring robots into the warehouse, we are working in Pakistan and the cost of human resources here is peanuts. So if
Mhm.
we just look at the cost of buying a robot and automating a warehouse, the cost of one robot would be, I can hire uh, maybe 100 people in that cost for over the year,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So there are certain things fit for the market, which comes from the business. So the first things first is like bringing the idea, setting it up, discussing it, and getting a buy-in and consent from my other teammates. So the point is collaboration. It has to be a collaborative effort. It can't be an individual or effort in silos. Otherwise, it would be just a waste of money. It won't be an investment.
Mm.
So, and when we consider, and now most of the companies I have worked for, I vouch for it, that Shan Foods, Smile Industries, National Foods, even Indus Motors, which is a Japanese company. I mean, they are a JV, House of Weave and Toyota. Still, I'm telling you, all of these companies doesn't consider technology as a cost center anymore. They look at it as an investment, right? So it's an investment on their people to bring efficiencies. So when it is an investment, we have to go back to the investor. I consider my business teams as an investor, my project stakeholders, and yes, there has to be a proper change management, right? Once we decide, okay, we have to go for it, then it's not like go.
Hmm.
From there starts planning, right? And what comes as a part of planning is how we are going to communicate and make sure that we embrace the change across the organization. So example, like if it is an it was we just went live with SAP S4 HANA on cloud. We were on ECC and we just moved to a cloud solution, Rise with SAP, which is the latest one with other satellite solutions offered by SAP. The key was change management. So it's not like it was all green, all good. Yes, we had issues, we had challenges. It's part of such big major transitions. However, we had to manage changes and then keep an eye and a record and repository of lessons learned, so we don't repeat those mistakes. So it's again, it's not something individual. I won't say that, oh, being the leader of digital transformation, I think we should do this and it's going to happen tomorrow. So the key to anything, and that's something I've learned from this Japanese culture. They spend 60% time on planning, and they end up saving 5, 6, 7, 10% in the final execution.
Mhm.
So the better we plan, the better we execute, and we start getting the benefits out of the initiatives. So those are not just initiatives to fill in my annual goals and individual goals, but it is something for beneficial for the organization.
Yes, so beautiful. You see, you touched on the human element of it, right? And I know oftentimes when the decisions are made, they have to be, innovative and advancement, keep up with times. But in a country like Pakistan, for example, you said if there are 100 employments that can be created, these are 100 livelihoods. You're talking about average 500 people. Now, as a business, you're supporting that sort of a unit. How do you make those decisions, right? So one thing is the cost element, right? But if you are going to deploy these solutions where the country is not where it needs to be, the people are not equipped or trained to use those advanced robotics, that's another ball game, right? Especially the companies which are creating tons of jobs across the countries. How do they make these decisions? Like, what goes on? Is it driven by culture? Is it driven by values? Is it like a buy-in of all the leaders, or are people conscious about these things? Do these things become a part of conversations?
Yes, initially and previously, if I go back to early 2000, maybe no, but nowadays, I mean, it is how it is. And as you rightly said, even we check on the organizational readiness in terms of people readiness to embrace and onboard the change. So there are certain things, as I gave you an example of SAP. There are certain other things, say Salesforce, or maybe bringing some social listening tool in. We have to have our CRM team, our customer services team, be ready to adopt the thing and get the right benefit out of it. So what we do nowadays, and that's a general practice nowadays, the companies are investing on people training. So we are
Interesting.
training them, we are sending them for exposures, and then market best practices. It helps a lot because
Yes.
we are an emerging market. We cannot move ahead without collaborations. So in my space, I always touch base with different CIOs coming from different cultures and in working in different companies, big conglomerates. I discuss with them. We have different forums. We have CIO executive forums. We have forums like CXO Global. So these are platforms where we discuss ideas, we exchange ideas, and we exchange best practices too. So because you're absolutely right, if buying a Rolls Royce and then we don't know how to operate it, maybe we
Or
will.
don't have roads for it.
Yes. So
Yeah.
infra, that's right. So
Yeah.
so all these things actually are part of the overall decision making, and
That's
that's considered this employee training. Everything is done after a UAT. Every system implementation, at least, involves UATs, user acceptance test, and then user trainings, and then mock test before we go live. So all these things in these phases, step by step, we ensure that we are not overloading the employees. Or you just go learn this. It's not just another certification or O levels examination that you go read this book and just come back with your results. No, it's a step by step execution, and we have to make sure that we don't overburden the employees. Information overload would eventually may not help us. Rather, it will just give the employee to beef up his own resume and profile that I'm up to date, I have learned this, but with no practical execution may not help. So it's pretty much part of the planning. And at the time of execution, this is where the change management comes in, and where we communicate and find out the right time for right thing.
And in companies, entrepreneurship, right? So one element is to get people up to speed so they can actually be, brought along with the change that's coming. And then when you talk about these initiatives, right, you do need people who have these entrepreneurship skills, who can then this word entrepreneurship, and giving them these projects to bring about the change as well. And as a lead that you are, how do you have these sort of initiatives? How do you basically promote innovation within the company? And if, let's say, during these processes somebody wants to uh, take a leap and start their own startup, or they say, okay, I have learned a great deal now, thank you, National Foods, or thank you, Abdullah, you have actually enabled me, now I'm set off. Any of these experiences or anything like that happens?
Well, yes, multiple. I mean, first of all, two things. One, in-house, within the organization. So nowadays, there's no red carpeting at all. I mean, everybody who comes up with a good initiative, a good idea, is will be discussed. And I'm not talking precisely about NFL. Yes, definitely, it's a part of NFL values and culture. It's a progressive organization, but I've seen this across in multiple other organizations in Pakistan, so that's a good change. But again, whatever comes pops up. So maybe a person can come up with 10 different ideas, but all 10 cannot be executed with quality. So perhaps, yes, there's a process to filter out, as we discuss. As I said, that there's a planning and there's a discussion. So bringing it on the table and then taking it to the execution level is a journey itself. But nobody actually is barring or is being barred within the organization to come up with innovative ideas. So that's one thing. Yes. Coming to the second part of it, I can give you an example, like a guy who was working with me at Smile Industries, Farooq. He is, mashallah, now an entrepreneur. He is working his own thing. He has a startup. He is working and delivering for software development solutions for clients sitting outside Pakistan. He could actually raise a little bit of money. So this is one thing. I haven't personally worked, but there's a guy who used to work for National Foods and now is running a clothing brand. Shahzeb, I think Shahzeb Said, yes. So yes, there are examples, and there's no harm. Rather, I was reading it somewhere, and I was looking, listening to and watching to a lecture. It is at times advice that you go to job, learn something, learn business ethics, learn the day-to-day work ethics, and then start up, rather than going raw into the sea. So yes, there these are the couple of examples I could just on top of my mind I had. But yes, there are several other examples like this, where people, and then in the market like today, where apparently we have the economical situation is not very healthy and not very positive. So in this, as I said, like, the opportunity lies here. So I have seen a lot of transitions where people have started to do their at least some side hustle. And it's not precisely that if a guy is working for finance, so he's doing something for finance. No, if maybe he can be doing some fish farming, he can be doing some car trading. So people have now realized how to start. So that's a positive thing, and the shift is there, and it's there for I must say, like, for the past couple of years at least, and I see this going forward. So this is how we hopefully will have big startups. And but definitely there's a lot of things to be done, and a lot of things to be professionally done. And because we still don't have big unicorns, and we don't have million billion dollar companies so far
Yes.
in Pakistan.
Yes.
So the startup, definitely there's that would be the next step. But yes, to start with, the positive thing is there, the some indication is there, and people have that capacity, and now they have started to unleash their potential and start to take that leap of faith as well. So there are both kind of examples, like people who are doing their side hustles along with the job and then eventually targeting to move out. And then on the other side, there are people who have already took a call, and then they decided to move into their own trading or any other consulting or any other services business.
So, unconventional of you to have gone and started a startup of your own. Do you think it has added a lot to you as a leader, as someone, like now? So, do you think it gave you that jump or that leap that usually, if you were to just stick to a straight and narrow path that usually people do, do you think it gave you an edge?
I always believed, and yes, my belief turned into firm belief that yes, we learn from books, we learn from universities, and we learn from institutions. But I think we learn more when we interact with people having different experiences. And this is what actually helped me, because when I started, my own things, I had to meet people, I had to, get their ideas. Every one of them was not very encouraging. But again, yes, it actually opened up a lot of things which I may not have thought, like if I, as a normal employee, I may get ambitious about a few things. But coming back to, this perspective as an entrepreneur, then I also look into a few other things, long term, short term, and, the overall business perspective. So, being a professional is good, but having that business lens and acumen is something I learned out of this journey.
So, it added value to you.
Yes, 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 indeed.
So, I would love for you to touch base on early life. What was early life like? Growing up, what were the key memories that you think were the defining moments or added to the person that you became?
Well, perhaps I had that entrepreneurship somewhere inside. So I was not one of the brilliant students in the class. Never, not even good, but yes, in the average class. But again, I was always into, trying new things. So going back to the times, couple of friends, we decided to start a mobile shop. We did that, and then I came out. So, I am personally a learner who would learn with interactions, right? Uh, and that's actually has helped me. So, uh, I won't say that I am there. I'm still learning, and there's a lot to learn. But to some extent, I believe being street smart and being, open to accept ideas, having that listening capacity, helps. So this is what I've actually brushed up: listening to everyone, getting everyone's perspective, yet having, my own thing and my own thing. So it's not like getting convinced out of every, idea that sounds brilliant, so not getting excited about it. But these are few things which matters a lot. So having multiple interactions since childhood, and it's like, it's not like only sitting up with, people in businesses, doing business, doing computer science. So I always wanted to be have this diversity in my group of people, uh different kind of people. So definitely this which has helped me uh, coming to the stage where I am right now. Because yeah, I personally, I'm quite sure and I'm confident that I don't have any specific skill that sets me apart. But apparently, Allah has been kind at first place, and definitely the learnings I have gathered from different people, from interacting, coming from different cultures, and yes, uh, I think it's a must. Thanks to again Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and the company I was working for, that I got an opportunity for a secondment to work, interact with people sitting outside, and then again L'Oreal and Shell both. We used to work with people sitting outside Pakistan having different perspectives. So that multicultural exposure and meeting them and definitely was a different ball game. So That I can say is the key. And I always, when I speak to people and then the young university students, I always tell them, what you are learning here, you should go and bounce off with your ideas with people sitting outside. Maybe having a chit chat with a retailer in your own vicinity. You can just discuss any wild idea with him. Maybe something can click, and if not, trust me, he will give you back certain reasons why he cannot do this. Will open up your mind, because you may not know. I was talking to someone, I mean, and she mentioned, like, okay, in India, it's like the retailers, they have their sort of calculator. So whatever they do, it's like connected to the POS systems and so on and so forth. So the tax calculation, everything is sorted. So I said, over here, there are different challenges, and I learned that while I was connecting with different retailers, that how people actually come up with different ideas and how to cater this market. So it's not like we cannot do it. There are possibilities, but we need to know the ground realities.
Hmm.
So interacting with different people has always helped me. But otherwise, yes, as I said, entrepreneur was there somewhere inside. So I always love to meet people who are doing small and big businesses, to learn what is the perspective of life and why they are doing it actually. So
Hmm.
my learning was, nobody wanted to be successful, right? Everybody had a passion, they wanted to do what they love.
Hmm.
So, and success definitely follows. So if I would have started, and that's what I again say and tell to many people, like the students and the young generation coming in. I mean, there's no one definition to success, right? But yes, passion is something which you can very clearly define, and you have it inside. And if you follow your passion, definitely success follows. So this is the a summary, and in shortest, in a nutshell, what I have learned. But otherwise, I'm a computer science graduate, so obviously that helped. But again, being a computer science graduate or a business graduate doesn't gives us that knowledge and thing to execute it. Again, interaction and meeting new people, and getting the downloads from experience, s- learning from lessons learned, looking at people, what were the failures, what helped them in covering up. So it's not just startups. We have seen people who have been struggling in the job, in their professional life, and with a few minor changes, maybe a disciplinary changes within the life, help them growing, and they have mashallah successful careers.
You learn from anyone and everyone, right? That's what you're saying. Did you have that support from home? Any entrepreneurs in the family? Anything that was particularly sort of like, that was sort of like a head start you had, seeing someone getting
Well,
inspired?
I'm coming from a purely family where my mother used to teach. She was a teacher at Sin Medical College, so she has a different profession, health sciences, healthcare. And so, but she was a employer as well, so she has been a salaried person. No, I'm not an entrepreneur. My father was that accountant, and he was also part of the textile side of Pakistan, and he has worked as a consultant as well. But again, no. I always learned this from home, that, oh, complete your studies, get into a job, and then look towards a successful career. So, this is something. Yes, yeah, one of my uncles, he had that. He is in outside Pakistan, and he has a big exposure, and he has been trying a lot of new things. So that was one motivation. I've seen him, you know, trying out new things, trying out big things, and definitely everything was not a success, but surely the motivation was apparently the satisfaction. When I see him, I always find him satisfied that, yes, what I wanted to do, I'm doing that. And definitely, as I said, following your passion, one day you will definitely get success, but success again will be within what you want and where you want to be. So these A to B, the point, the goals we have to decide. But no, answering your question, I was always brought up with this mindset to uh, get a good professional career and get a good job, getting to sea level, and so yeah, that's how it is. So it was something which I learned again. The motivation was coming from different people, my friends who have been into this, and they were, and I don't know that John Elia share I we discussed. मुद्दत से नौकरी करते हो तुम कोई काम क्यों नहीं करते तो
Yeah,
so
that's a good one.
that is one motivation. I mean, yes, obviously doing a job is something a routine. So I always wanted to get into it, but thanks to my parents, they they actually have given me all the best things in terms of learnings and the ethics. So be it a professional thing, be it a job, be it your own thing, the work ethics has to be there, and this is what my parents have always emphasized upon my family overall, and this is what has helped me and will for sure help me going forward as well.
I often wonder, how do one identify their passion? How do you find that? What are the signs? I know there is no sort of an answer, and it's different perspectives, different views, different life stories, different preferences. But how usually one would find their passion?
Passion can be generalized. Passion is something. Okay, I can say my as I said, bazaar bhi, or even what I'm doing right now, health, or the passion is basically to help people, and uh, not just people in general, but I mean adding value to someone's life,
Mm.
right? But narrowing it down to exactly what you want to do, because we cannot do everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are not
Mm-hmm.
God. God forbid. So again, so we have to narrow it down. So this is where the problem comes in. I mean, even I get confused at times. Okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. Then there has to be prioritization,
Mm.
right? Okay, first of all, what can I do? So maybe I can do IT consultancy. I can start up a trading business, like any other trading business, buying things and selling it out by hiring a consultant. So, and there are so on and so forth. There are many other things we can do. So I can have to then prioritize, put it down on the paper, prioritize what is my strength, what is my weakness, what are the strengths I can build on, what can be the quick win, and what can be the. But again, there are two things. There's one thing is goal, and the other thing is vision. So
Mm.
vision is like your passion, and your goal are like your deliverables to follow your
Interesting.
passion.
Interesting. So, what one piece of advice you would have for people who, let's say, starting out, college graduates, let's say, but they have this passion of entrepreneurship, and they just want to just go out in the wild, right? They just want to take a leap and go out there. What piece of advice would you give them?
I think in this case, I don't know how good is my what I'm going to say it would be, but I think this is the best time to try out and go wild. Because this is the time at the age of 23, 24, 21, the person has all the capacities of risk taking, right? Well, I mean, this is the right time to get your risk. You have limited liabilities. Not everyone, but most of the people. You're not married. You don't have kids. You don't have other liabilities at home. At least you have been so far supported by your family. So there's no burden to go and run your kitchen. So this is the right time. And we have examples like university dropouts becoming big entrepreneurs, because they had big capacities to take risk, and they could go all out, and they
Hmm.
had nothing to lose.
Hmm.
So apparently for this group of people, I always say try out your luck, and not just your luck, go and do it with passion, and do it with all the positivities and all the best energies. So getting an FYP done, your finally a project at university, or your thesis in business, will definitely help you getting a good job. But so unfortunate people coming out of business schools and looking for a job, and looking for jobs fair coming from different organization. That is good, obviously, as we just spoke about, having some exposure about work ethics and work culture before you start up. But there's no harm even if you want to go out. But again, for that, you even that have to there has to be a plan for it.
Hmm.
So one should have some mentors, someone to guide, and there's no harm, because I don't expect a person coming out of university and knowing everything. So on people on our side, like people myself and other entrepreneurs, it's there. Half of the circle is obviously the person coming in will bring, and rest of the half Obviously, the rest of the people who can encourage and bring more people can also help. But yes, if you ask me, I think that is the best time to start up and take this leap of faith and risk, rather when you come at a stage where I am right now, at a C level, at a director level. Definitely
A lot
you,
more to lose.
yes, and definitely you have to think 100 times, not twice, right,
Yes.
before you take a change. And you cannot just let your job go away, and just you have to have certain financial plannings. You have certain deliverables and goals associated with you, and those are not just deliverables, those are like mandatory things you have to make sure can happen. Yeah.
100%, because everyone in your life gets affected if you're an
Yes,
entrepreneur. It's
absolutely.
crazy
It's
stuff
a
that
kind
you
of ecosystem going around every
yeah,
single individual.
yeah, yeah.
So yes,
So so
there are
when you don't have much to worry about, is the
this is the
odds.
right time.
This is the time. And even often, when I have these conversations, especially to do with Pakistan's market, there are people whose parents are now, depending on the individual, right? I often say that if you must and go and find a job, try and look for a job with a startup. And when you just try and look for the job with the startup, what will happen is the systems are yet to be built. So you're going to be the part of that exciting period, which is usually the first, like few years of any organization's evolution, right? So when you're going to get that exposure, you'll get to experience multiple things. That means you're trying things that you might not have the opportunity with the well-oiled organization where systems are set, and one little f up could cause a big ordeal,
Yeah,
because
absolutely. I'll give you my own example. Like I was part of L'Oreal when they were setting up a subsidiary in Pakistan, right? So they started in 2010, and I joined them in 2011, like April, May. And thanks to all those people
Hmm.
who actually, you know, allowed me to be a part of business discussions and other discussions, and that was apparently a big learning. So you are spot on. I mean, working with a startup makes a lot of difference. You learn, so you actually get to learn a lot of things without any personal loss,
Hmm.
put it this way,
Yes,
right? So
yes,
you don't
yes.
have to risk your own monies, your own funds, and your own credibility by asking someone's money and then putting it into risk. So yes, you are absolutely right, and that's something again unfortunately or fortunately, we did not have much opportunities to work with startups in Pakistan. But now, since again after COVID, yes, this opportunity is not very much there.
It's a very young ecosystem in Pakistan when it comes
Absolutely.
to the startup, and it's a risk capital. Traditionally, we just know how to trade, and we want to make sure that we get returns. I often combine entrepreneurship with innovation with my definitions that entrepreneurship, as we discussed, healthy relationship with failure, and then innovation being asking tons of whys, why it is the way it is. And in order for you to just try something else, that, we often say, padi lakadi, right? So,
Uh-huh.
so this is sort of a good thing as well if you want to evolve. So if you must shake something which is working fine, you need risk capital. You might
Yes,
find a way which is going to be, amazing, more efficient, great, but there's a chance that it just fall, like you may fall flat on your face. But that's healthy relationship with failure, and not losing that essence of asking whys does require that risk capital.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
in that process, if there are group of young people who are the odd ones, they come together, and if they are learning, now you're going to have at least 5 6 people coming out of that failure, even that failure of a startup. Yesterday I was having a discussion with someone, the guest, and they have had the experience working with Airlift, right? And now they have a cash flow positive startup in fintech, right?
See,
And they were just saying one thing about the culture at Airlift, that they would encourage someone who has been a part of the foundational team, and now they want to branch out
yes,
to start their own thing. So the culture in the company, which is relatively young, saying, "Hey, I'll hook you up. Go on. I'm going to be a part of your journey. Just do that," right? And that cycle, right? There is a saying that I'm a firm believer of: the person who is planting a seed, knows that they may never benefit from the shade of the tree, has truly learned the meaning of human existence, right?
That's right.
So embracing that sort of a culture, right? That if someone through your vision or the dream that we talked about, because you see, you start a startup, now you need to bring people who can help you because you can't do everything yourself. So now you are selling your dream.
That's right.
And if they have bought in on it, the only decent thing in return you can do is, if they have now a dream because you actually enable them to dream big, you should be happy. And then you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to support you. Fair play. Let me know what can I do. I'm going to hook you
Absolutely.
up. That sort of a culture, startup nations usually have, and I would love Pakistan to sort of like, we are doing great things, but with the startup ecosystem, that has
So,
to
as you
happen.
rightly said, we are still young, and things are changing, evolving every day. So, it's not like a startup that failed in 2020 uh, had some learnings, definitely, and or perhaps the other way around, some startups that actually were very successful in 2020 during the COVID times, maybe following the same path, you may not reach there. I'll give you an example like Carl Lewis, if you remember, he's a runner, right? In 1980s, 1990s, he was the best, right? He was the best. And what was his score then was like 9.7 or something. Now come to 2023, 24, his record, the person who achieved that came last, right? So this is how you learn with the new trends, new. So it's not necessary that what is there written in the books, what is there as part of, say, Uber and Kareem, maybe we talk about it, but definitely you cannot set up a, then Yango has a different story,
Mhm, mhm.
right? So all these are platform businesses, all these are, car pooling kind of businesses, but again, have different stories and different success stories. So it's not like one size fits for all.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's why having this exposure and this interaction, as you said, is absolutely very important.
It's been a very interesting conversation. And as we're coming to the end of this discussion, um, one of the things that we even talked the last time we met, right? That kids who are in college studying entrepreneurship, their goal is to secure a job, right?
I say that's right.
And when you think about this, right, what is it that they should think, or they should do? What is it that we need in Pakistan to actually, make it a bit better? What can we do to reduce that ratio? And I think you quoted something so interesting to me at that time, where was a Harvard stat you shared with me, that people who are in C levels or senior leadership, they just go and study entrepreneurship, but instead of trying something.
Yes.
So what was that again?
So apparently, yes. Now I was just reading that big business schools, like you mentioned, Harvard Business School and these LSEs, and they are now getting eliminating the requirement of doing all these, GMATs and all those things, because they think students come with high scores, they learn and go back, join their jobs.
Hmm.
So they want people to come, learn, and go back as an entrepreneur, come out with a unicorn. So this is their moment of pride, rather than having someone who came in as a CFO and became a CEO of the company. So which is okay for an individual, it's a success, but for a business school, it's like, okay, we developed a professional and we help him like getting a step ahead. But for them, real success is in
More
getting
trees.
more trees. That's right.
More trees.
So it's like this is what they also encourage. And now, good thing is, in Pakistan, even LUMS has a good incubation center, IB has a good incubation center, and then we have national incubation centers working in Karachi. Faizan Lagari is doing an amazing job. Then Asfar in Hyderabad is doing, and so on and so forth in the rest of the regions. So yes, there are people who are now working with these individuals, and we just spoke about X-ray Tech. So what they are doing is basically there's still a gap. When a fresher come out of a university, he doesn't know what is expected out of him in the office. right? He thinks I'm going to go get a good seat, good chair, good environment, good lunch, good people to
Glass
chat with.
office.
Yes, glass office, no, this is there's something beyond and above. What you expect is expected out of you. So that gap is being filled and addressed now. Like we are now coming up with courses, and though that specific program where in 4 to 6 months, 8 months, a person should go get job or business ready.
Hmm.
And this requires obviously different skill set development. Is definitely it goes.
Micro credentials.
Yes,
Hmm.
micro credentials are what we are talking about and what we are discussing and we are executing. So yes, there's a lot to be done from outside as well.
Yes.
We cannot put everything on the new generation, because passing them mental without a lead
Yes.
would definitely be putting them into more burden on them and expecting more out of them. So this is one gap, and that is being addressed by many other institutions in Pakistan. So that is one thing I believe. If we address these gaps, definitely we have people who are more than willing to be an entrepreneur rather than just going and getting a job.
Yes. Thank you so much. You have been phenomenal. It takes a village to raise a child. And when you talk about an entrepreneur, you need support from everybody, and people like yourself who are actually busy and doing what they have to do. You are now taking the time out to add value to the ecosystem. That's very much appreciated, very much needed. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for your time. It was phenomenal speaking with you today.
Thank you, Manif, for having me once again, and looking forward to stay in touch and definitely taking this initiative out. And I wish you all the best in your upcoming initiatives, like your entrepreneurship marathons and so a lot of things. And definitely feel good to be a part of your initiatives and looking forward.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
We
much.
wouldn't be able to do it without the help of good people. So thank you once again.
Thank you.